Morning, morning, morning. How are we all? Welcome back to Football's 12th Man. Welcome back to the morning transfer show. It's great to be back this morning. I hope you all enjoyed the Euro game last night, Spain versus France. I did try and tell people that Spain were going to win as they were too impressive. France, people say, stunk the tournament out. Not quite sure how you can do that when you get to a semi-final. However, definitely disappointing. And last night, it was all about a 16-year-old sensation. He was unreal. Absolutely outstanding from Lamine Yamal. And I think I must say that this is something that I haven't seen for a while. We've seen young talents in the Euros and the World Cup set the world alight, but he's now taken over from Pele as being the youngest goal scorer in the tournament, apparently. So this is going to be a player that I think will light up football in the coming years. I mean, to do that at 16 years old, absolute confidence, unbelievable ability on the ball. So for me, one to look for. Really good game. Great going forward from both teams. Really good start. First half was absolutely lit. And then, of course, we look forward tonight to England and the Netherlands. Well, some of us will anyway. Let's see what happens there. We're not here to talk Euros. We're here to talk transfers. Please make sure if you are new that you hit the subscribe button. That's what we are asking people to do this morning. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button and, of course, like the video. Two things that are absolutely free to do. So please make sure you do that because you don't appreciate how much that does for myself and the channel. So please make sure you hit like and subscribe and make sure you hit the notification bell so you know that when we're on. If you haven't checked out last night's Arsenal show, I recommend that you do. A lot of people watching the football at the time, so a lot of it will now be on catch up. So please make sure that you do that because it was a very good show and we got an absolutely brilliant panel on. 4 or 5 of us chatting all things Arsenal and all things transfers in a good format. So make sure you go click on that one previously to this one. Big up to all of you in the chat this morning. Big up to Kyle. Big up to Mustafa, big up to Mum, big up to Ash, big up to Shane, big up to Snake, big up to Gunner Vapes, and big up to Steve. So big up to all of you. And also Steve, who has become a new member. If you would like to become a new member, like Steve, big up Steve, then you can hit the join button and support the channel for a minimal fee monthly. And that does do a lot for our content and our production level. So please make sure that if you would like to do that, then that you do. And if you don't want to, then please just hit like and subscribe because that's what's absolutely free. Big up to all of you for being here early. It does mean a lot. And of course, for those of you watching on catch up, we're going to talk all things transfers. There's lots and lots of rumours this morning. It is now heating up. It is now picking up. The Euros are coming to a close. The Copa America is coming to a close, which means that all of the teams are looking at where they want to go for their next moves in this transfer market that I think will start to hot up, as we are starting to see already. We're going to be talking about Arsenal, who are interested in a midfielder that Arteta loves. We are also going to talk about Manchester United linked with what seems like 100 players all of a sudden in this new structure under Ten Hag and under Jim Ratcliffe. We're going to talk a little bit about Chelsea. We're also going to touch on West Ham. And there's a last section I'm going to do, which is going to talk a little bit about Arsenal and where they are at the moment. So let's get to it, people. We are going to start with Manchester United, who at the moment just seem to be linked with everybody. Now, I know that happens sometimes when there's a new structure at the club, but where the new structure is at Manchester United, they've clearly got a list of targets, not just we want him in that position and we want him in that position. And I think that's clever. I think you should always have a plan A target, a plan B target, and a plan C target for who you want in each position. And when you look at a centre-half, a left-back, a right winger, there's always the opportunity that you might want that right winger who says, I'm happy here where I fancy another move. So you then move to your next right winger or your next right winger. And therefore you get somebody who you think is going to be fit or at least will fit the bill for your club. So that's where we're going to start with Manchester United. Now, I'm kind of a little bit confused with what Man United are looking at the moment, but I don't think it takes Einstein to work out that they want a centre-half because they're linked with lots of them. Now, the first one we're going to talk about is the one that would probably excite most Manchester United fans the most, and that is the signing of Lille centre-half Lenny Yoro. Now, 18 years old, this is a centre-half that is going to light up the footballing world. He's a phenomenal talent. He, along with Saliba, people are mentioning in the same bracket as, are going to be the defenders that people are going to be looking at. Real Madrid are massively interested in Lenny Yoro. And this is going to be a defender that a lot of people will be looking at now over the coming weeks. Manchester United have an agreement in principle to sign Lenny Yoro from Lille, but Real Madrid are also remaining interested. That's come from Fabrizio Romano. They would like to go in for Lenny Yoro. Yoro, I believe, or what we're hearing from Romano, is wanting to get that move to Real Madrid. But Real Madrid have got to match the price that's been agreed with Manchester United and Lille, which is around about 50 million euros. Now, Real Madrid apparently just under 20 million euros for what they offered, and that was going to be rejected. So Real Madrid, if they want this guy now, they're going to have to try to match the price, or they're going to have to believe that they can put in a bid that is going to be acceptable for Lille and allow Lenny Yoro to ask to leave. Now, I think that if Real Madrid come knocking, they're going to be knocking at the door of a different knocker, so to speak, right? He's got his heart apparently set on Real Madrid. But I will say this, Manchester United should still be excited here because they've started to show the ambition already of going into the market quickly and looking at their targets quickly. And that just shows what the new structure are going to be about. So as a Man United fan, if I was one, I would be fairly excited here. I think it will be a real interesting scenario as to what happens with Lenny Yoro. If I had to put money on it, I would still say that it would be Real Madrid that he chooses. But Manchester United, of course, have come in quick and they've got themselves a bid accepted. You know, it's a lot of money, but they believe it's well worth the money. So, and let's be real, he's one of the top talents in central defence, in the world of football. So, of course, I can understand why he's wanted by the two biggest clubs in world football, Manchester United and Real Madrid. Now, this rumour still will not go away, and it looks as if this is going to happen at some stage. Manchester United are believed to have agreed deal, or a deal, should I say, with De Ligt. It looks like that is going to happen. It's been green lighted a few days ago now by Fabrizio Romano. So watch the space on De Ligt and when that's going to happen, because I think it is just a matter of when now, not if. I don't think there's going to be any shocks to hear that he is on his way to Manchester United. We believe for £40 million, which I think is a good piece of business for Manchester United. It's reported that the personal terms have been agreed and we're just waiting for that one to happen now. So it looks like De Ligt and Yoro are the two that they want in defence at the moment. But it does not stop there, because as we know, Jarrad Branthwaite, £45 million plus £5 million of add-ons, has been rejected by Everton. That is the second bid that has gone in for the Everton centre-half, 22 years old. But Manchester United, according to the Times, are expected to return with a third bid for Jarrad Branthwaite after Everton rejected the second offer of that £50 million. Now, if they're looking at Yoro and they're looking at Branthwaite and they're looking at De Ligt, yesterday there was rumours of Mark Guehi. One, I think they might be after a centre-half, guys. But two, I think they could be after two or three. Now, I must say that I think this would be a position that Manchester United know they have to strengthen. They've lost Varane. Lisandro Martinez has had injury problems. There's players that are looking to want out, which we'll come on to next in that position. And I think that those three are three players that would excite you as a Manchester United fan being linked with. I think that if they can get these players in, they've got themselves absolutely upgraded, which is an understatement, in fact, in that position. So watch the space on these players for Manchester United. Big up to Emma, who has just become a YouTube member. Thank you so much to both Steve and Emma. If you would like to become a member, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and join, and you can support the channel in that way. So thank you so much for that, Emma. Big up to yourself and to all of the chat that have hit the like and the subscribe button. Let's talk about Manchester United players that might want out, because this is a player that people are Manchester United, should I say, are wanting out. Apparently, they're going to be listening to offers for Victor Lindelof. He could leave Manchester United because of a lack of game times over the last two seasons, and Give Me Sport are suggesting that that might happen for the Swedish defender, who is now turned 29. I don't think he's a player that's ever settled, if I'm honest. I think he was £30 million. I remember them buying him under, I think it was Jose Mourinho. Looked okay to start with, but he's never managed to get a first team place, and I don't think he's good enough, if I'm honest. I don't think Manchester United are looking at that potential centre-half, thinking that he's one that they want to be keeping. And of course, they have said that they are open to listening to offers for Harry Maguire, who I think could still do a very good job at a Premier League club, but certainly not at the level of Manchester United or anything around the top six. I think he's got to go down a level now and try to revive some of his career to get first team football. It was an absolute almighty amount of money. If you remember, £80 million when Manchester United signed him from Leicester. And if I'm honest with you, I think Harry Maguire has probably shown this coming season, just gone, how his attitude is not an issue, and how some of the other attitudes around the place is probably more toxic than Harry Maguire's. So I'm actually a fan of what I've seen from Harry Maguire attitude-wise. I would not want him anywhere near Arsenal, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, he's not somebody that I look at as a problem at Manchester United. He's not one of the ones I see as toxic. He's not someone I look at and think, yeah, do you know what? I think you need to get rid of Harry Maguire because in the dressing room, he's a pain. I actually think quite the opposite. I just don't think he's good enough on the pitch. Now, if they want to keep him as a squad player, I'm sure they wouldn't have a problem with that. But I think they are looking at offers for the centre-back. Now, that's because they've got Evans, Lindelof and Maguire that, let's be real, are not wanted at Manchester United. They're going to need some backup, but I think that's why they're bringing in 3 centre-halves, or trying to at least. Guehi and Branthwaite, both English, and linked with moves to Manchester United. We've mentioned De Ligt today, and of course Lenny Yoro. You can see why they're going for that calibre of centre-half for sure. And they've got to upgrade on what they've got. They really do. So let's see what happens at Manchester United there. Sticking with Manchester United, there are links with Feri Kog. Now, there's definitely links with Kog at Arsenal as well. We've been linked with him over the coming weeks. It's not a player I knew a lot of until I started to watch the Euros. And if I'm honest with you, I do think he's an all right player. My only problem with Feri Kog, from what I can see, is he's very good going forward, but defensively, he doesn't look much better than Kolasinac or Tavares. So for me, it wouldn't be someone I'd be excited by getting. 24 years old, Fenerbahce are interested in listening to offers. He's definitely interested in a move away from Turkey. But would Jose Mourinho want to take a look at him, or would he want to sell him? If you remember now, you've got Jose Mourinho now who's at Fenerbahce. Perhaps he won't be wanting to get rid of him unless it's for the right price. Of course, he can play left wing back, and in midfield. So he's very versatile, and he did very well at Turkey for the Euros. But I don't see much more than an attack-minded player. And I think for me, left backs, you need to be able to defend. And I'm not so sure that he can, from what I can see anyway. So that wouldn't be something that interests me. But Manchester United are keeping their eyes peeled on Feri Kog. Arsenal and Manchester United are also linked with the goalkeeper, Justin Bijlow. Now, we suggested that Arsenal are looking at Dan Bentley, but they also have been for a while now looking at Justin Bijlow, who, according to reports, is happy to try to fight for his place and come in as the backup goalkeeper at either Arsenal or Manchester United. Now, he is playing for Feyenoord at the moment, who obviously are losing some of their players and have lost Arne Slot to Liverpool. But according to the Daily Mirror, Justin Bijlow from Feyenoord will be willing to be the backup goalkeeper at Arsenal or Manchester United. So watch the space on this one. It's been reported for a while now that Arsenal were looking at a backup goalkeeper, and we'll come on to that a little bit more later. But just to touch on it quickly before we move to Arsenal, I do think Dan Bentley's going to come in as third choice, and it wouldn't surprise me if Justin Bijlow come in as second choice. It really wouldn't. I think Dan Bentley's going to be the equivalent of a Scott Carson, like I've said to you guys at Man City, and I still stand by that. I don't think he is, an amazing, exciting goalkeeper, Dan Bentley. And I also believe that the Justin Bijlow rumour is going to be the one that is going to come in as backup. So I can see these two potentially happening if Arsenal were interested. That's for sure. We've got to see what happens there. Let's talk about this guy because there's a lot of rumours today that, of course, Jadon Sancho being linked still with a move away. Well, today it looks as if Juventus are the ones that are most interested in the 24-year-old. And Sancho's only interested now in joining Juventus, from what we can understand from both Sky Sports and the team talk. Now, I think this guy's got a lot to offer in the Premier League still. However, maybe he's looking at his time thinking, do you know what? It hasn't really worked for me in the Premier League. It worked for me over at Dortmund. Let's go and see if I can revive some form of career over in Italy. So I don't blame Jadon Sancho for wanting to look elsewhere. It hasn't worked for him at Manchester United. He's certainly not a lover of Ten Hag, and I can see that Ten Hag is definitely not a lover of Jadon Sancho. So that one could be really interesting. I just think it could be a real good move for a club. Maybe that club is now going to be, of course, potentially Juventus. So that could be an interesting move for them, and I think a good move, if I'm honest with you. Will that have a domino effect on Juventus? Will they get rid of somebody to get in Jadon Sancho? You'll have to watch this space. There's a lot of talk about Chiesa. So keep your eyes peeled on that one. Let's talk about this guy, because this is someone I'd absolutely love at Arsenal. And apparently Benfica have sent a warning to all clubs, particularly Manchester United and PSG, who have showed an interest, stating that they will have to up their bid significantly if they would like to take João Neves. Now, we know what Benfica are like. Benfica get lots of money for their players. And if they would have kept a lot of their players, wow, what a team they would have had. Obviously, Ederson's come from there. João Cancelo has come from there. Ruben Diaz has come from Benfica. Enzo Fernandez has gone for mad money. João Neves is looking to be touching £100 million for the 19-year-old. Box-to-box midfielder, should we call him? Definitely more of a creative spark than a defensive midfielder. I think in that left 8 for Arsenal, he'd be a very interesting player, but he's going to be a hell of a lot of money. Maybe this would be the one that would excite most fans in midfield, because he is lighting up the Portuguese league and is one for the future, that's for sure. So watch the space on João Neves. I think he's a player that everybody has heard of, at least, and is now taking a look at, and very, very interestingly take a look at that. But Manchester United are rumoured to be interested. PSG rumoured to be interested. And I know that Man City and Arsenal were looking at him not long ago as well. So he's definitely a player that we need to look at for sure. Manchester United have stated that on their list of strikers is the striker Ivan Toney. Now, we don't know how heavily rumoured this is. Of course, he's doing well at England at the moment. He's managed to get himself into the squad. But the Athletic are reporting that United have discussed Brentford's Ivan Toney as one of their striker options. So I think we need to be looking at this one. I think it's a signing that or a player, should I say, that I just can't get out the back of my mind. A lot of people are talking about Arsenal going in for him and saying that Arsenal should 100% look at Ivan Toney. I'm a huge fan of him and always have been. And if you said to me now that Arsenal were going for Ivan Toney, I would genuinely be happy with that. I wouldn't look at that and go, I wish we were going for, and say another name. Ivan Toney would be one that would please me 100%. I think he's Premier League proven. I think he's a superb talent. And he's one that I've always liked, if I'm honest. I just think it's a very, very easy signing. I think it's a risky signing for sure. So let's see what Manchester United do. Let's see how interested they are. There's a few names that are on the list. And the next one, of course, is away from Ivan Toney, is Dominic CalvertLewin. Now, CalvertLewin's being discussed, and this has come from reports from Team Talk that 27-year-old Dominic CalvertLewin has turned down a new contract offer from Everton amid interest from Manchester United. Now, we know that Newcastle were interested in him as well, so it might be that if he is asking for a move away from Everton, that a couple of Premier League clubs do come in for him. I highly rated him a couple of years ago, but I just don't think he can stay fit enough, and he hasn't been the same player that he has been over the last few. When I saw him come through the ranks and look to be a good talent at Everton, I thought, yeah, there's something about him that I quite like. But if I'm honest with you, I don't think he's shown enough consistency and has been too injury prone for Arsenal to be going in for him. But Manchester United are looking at both Ivan Toney and Dominic CalvertLewin. They're also looking at Joshua Zirkzee. So we have definitely got a scenario where they're looking at target A, target B, and target C here, because I've just showed you 3 or 4 centre-halves they're linked with. They're linked with a few strikers. They're linked with a couple of midfielders. They're definitely going in with a new structure. And if you're Manchester United at the moment, as a fan, you'd be fairly interested to see what happens next with their business, because they are going in 100% for these players. I think what we should do is touch quickly on Chelsea. This is the guy that they're looking at now. Adeyemi. Karim Adeyemi is a player who has interested them, and they're going all out for the forward. Now, he is going to be a price of £25 million. And it's a player who I've always looked at, but I've never actually been amazed by. He's been good, but I don't look at him and go, wow, your record is fantastic. I think his goal scoring record is not as amazing as some might tell you. Now, he's 22 years old. So he's got a hell of a lot of way to could go in terms of his what am I trying to say? His ceiling, his potential. That's the word. Bild in Germany are saying that Chelsea are in talks with the Borussia Dortmund forward over a deal for the 22-year-old German Karim Adeyemi. Chelsea fans, are you excited by that? Would that take them to the next level? Is that a player that you should be able to go and get? Now, I don't think it's a bad signing at all. I just think that what Chelsea might need is someone that is over the age of 22 now. Surely they've got enough of players under the age of 23. I think they must need, surely, a striker in the ilk of Ivan Toney. Maybe they need a Pedro Neto. Maybe they need a midfielder that's going to come in like a Joshua Kimmich. Maybe they should be going for those type of players that have been there and done it and had some experience in their field. So that's what I think. But Chelsea seem to want to keep going, don't they, for the youngsters? So let's see what happens. We're going to move to Arsenal to end the stream or to come to the last part of the show. And the Athletic are reporting that this is the number one target for Mikel Arteta. Now, if you ask anybody, they all will tell you that Nico Williams 100% has his heart set on Barcelona. Now, there's interest not just from Arsenal, but also from Chelsea, Bayern Munich, Liverpool, and also there's been other clubs linked with him as well. But I think he'll stay in Spain. He's 21 years old. He's lit up the Euros. He's been phenomenal for Athletic Bilbao. There is a release clause that's between 55 and 58 million. It works out around about 49 million pounds. And Barcelona are apparently trying to release or activate the release clause. Now, Arsenal definitely are interested from what the Athletic is saying. Sorry, I just don't know that we will be. Let's just delete some idiot from the chat. This is the problem when I do pictures and do too many things at once. You don't get people being very kind. There we go. Apologies. Please keep it respectful in the chat. That's all I ask. Well, I have absolutely no problem with people talking in the chat, but please just keep it acceptable. Anyway, Nico Williams is a guy that we are looking at 100%. That's just facts. Will we get him? My kind of head says no. I think that he will probably stay in Spain, and Barcelona are apparently his dream. So I can see that one happening, if I'm honest with you. It's not a player that I would imagine will come to the Premier League over staying in Spain, particularly if Barcelona are interested. They're trying to get rid of Rafinha, so watch what happens there. And I think when you look at Nico Williams, he looks an absolute baller, doesn't he? I mean, he's been phenomenal for me this Euros, as have Spain. So, keep your eyes peeled on what happens with Nico Williams. Arsenal are certainly interested. They're also interested in this midfielder. This is the one we want. This is the Granit Xhaka replacement. We know him very well from the Euros. Mikel Moreno. He was at Newcastle. And I've been very impressed with his performances. We are looking at the Real Sociedad central midfielder. He is one player of interest. Mikel Arteta has been apparently a huge fan of him for a while. Now, I've been impressed with him at the Euros, scored the winning goal against Germany, was a massive part of yesterday's win. Looks to be a very steady, tidy player that can play in that left 8 position, which I think will replace the Granit Xhaka that we've potentially missed a lot more than people perhaps thought. And Mikel Moreno, I must say, is one that I would look at and go, good, steady Eddie player. But it's not one that's going to wow me. I'm not going to get this signing in the door and go, oh, wow, that is a top talent that we are very excited about. But I've said that about other midfielders before. I've said that about other strikers before. I've said that about other players before at Arsenal, and they've turned out to be fantastic. So watch I was going to say watch what happens with Mikel Moreno. We don't know how heavily rumoured it is. There was links, of course, with Zubimendi at Arsenal from Real Sociedad. So it's very, very surprising that we're now linked with another Real Sociedad player. But it looks like Martin Zubimendi might want to stay at Real Sociedad or at least stay in Spain. Mikel Moreno might be the easier target to get. And he's definitely a different style of play to Zubimendi. He is definitely more of that box-to-box, that kind of attack-minded player that does have an understanding of how to get back and defend. We haven't really got many players in that mould. So it might be that we go and get that player in midfield that makes you go, wow, and Moreno comes in and he's the player that is there to kind of compete with places in that squad. 6'2", he's got some presence. He's definitely comfortable on the ball, there's no doubt. So watch what happens with Mikel Moreno. And if we do go in with him, there's a lot of people saying that they would be happy with this player. So we're going to have to see what happens with it. That's for sure. Arsenal are also linked again today with Brbie. Now, I don't know enough about Brbie to get too excited. All I do know is that he's 22 years old. He's over at the Netherlands at Ajax, and he's done fairly well. He's not been a player that I look at and go, wow, this will take us to a new level. but certainly interesting to see that we are linked with this striker over some of the other options like an Ivan Toney or a Victor Osimhen or Victor Gyökeres. So I think we need to watch what happens here. If he does come in at Arsenal, it'll be quite an underwhelming striker signing, I can't lie. Manchester United also interested in looking at this and what happens with this too. So I think we're going to have to watch what happens with Brbie. I don't know enough about him to get excited or not excited. I just know that there are other options out there that I would 100% prefer. So let's see where we go on this one. Let's talk about Calafiori very quickly. I think it's a done deal. A lot of people are saying it's a done deal, but there has not been any confirmation to suggest that Arsenal and Bologna have been in an agreement. And there are reports today suggesting that perhaps Arsenal might need to sell some players before they can get this deal over the line. So let's talk about some of the players that are linked with a move away. And today, one of them is Nuno Tage. Now, Nuno Tage has been a player that Arsenal just need to get rid of now. It's not a player I look at and think we need to try and find a place for him in the side. I've never really been interested in trying to find him a spot that I believe would be sort of deserved. I don't think he's a very good defender. And I think as a left winger, maybe you've got a player there. But left back, left wing back, it's not for me. But Lazio today have made contact with Arsenal over the signing of Nuno Tage, and we knew previously that it was Ajax that were linked with him. So maybe we can actually get some interest in Nuno Tage, and I think that is probably a big shock because I didn't think we were going to get much interest in him at all, if I'm honest with you. I really thought it was going to be a player that was going to be stuck with us for a while, that we weren't going to be able to get moved. And I think if Lazio and Ajax were prepared to spend just a few £1 million on him, I think we'd say yes. I think we paid £7 million for him from Benfica. It's not really a midfielder a player that I look at, think, wow, what a waste of money, because £7 million is nothing in this day and age. However, I think we should try and get as close as we can for that back. And that might be hard because he's had a few loan deals and he hasn't really set the world alight, Nuno Tage. If we was to sell him for £5 million, I'd take it now and snap your hand off. We just got to try and get rid of these players for sure. Big up to Locks. Make sure you go and following Locks and Leicester Fan TV. Big up, my bro. Hope you are well. Get you back on the channel very soon. That's for sure. Let's talk about another player, shall we, that is interested or looks to be looking at a move away from Arsenal, and that is Reiss Nelson. Now, the Athletic are stating today, and West Ham WHE employee, apparently, stating that Reiss Nelson would be interested in a move to West Ham, and West Ham are looking at him. Now, I think someone's got a really good chance of doing something with Reiss Nelson. You know, he's a good player. I think he's 23, 24. He's not old. He's got the best sort of age that you want him. He can play both right wing and left wing. He's a player that I still think has some potential if he gets first team football. And I actually think it would be a good signing for somebody like Crystal Palace or West Ham. He can stay in London. He can go over there and try and get first team football. And everywhere that he did go, he had a fairly successful loan move, whether it was at Hoffenheim as a youngster where he got 5 or 6 goals in a row, whether it was Feyenoord where he went and played in the Europa Conference League final with. He has been an okay player for Arsenal, also with some brilliant moments at the Emirates, scoring a couple of goals at Nottingham Forest at home, and last season before last, of course, scoring that absolute screamer to make it 3-2 in the last kick of the game against Bournemouth. So he'll always be remembered fondly at Arsenal. Massive, massive Arsenal fan, a proper gooner, one that I would know is absolutely Arsenal through and through. And it will be hard to see players like that leave because you love players like that in the dressing room. You love players like that around the club that absolutely love everything about the club. So that will be a tough one watching him go. But I hope that he does have a good future if he is to leave, because he's a player that I 100% rate and would love to see have a good career. There are other options that people might look at that people have spoken about already in the chat. Jacob Kivior, people are looking at for sure in Italy. Aaron Ramsdale, today even the Sun are reporting that Arsenal are looking at £50 million for him. Watch what happens there. I don't think we're going to get near that, in my opinion. We'll be lucky to get 30 because he hasn't been playing, but that's another player. Thomas Partey is linked with a Saudi move. That could have some legs. Smith Rowe as well. Fulham very interested in looking at Smith Rowe. And Eddie Nketiah has Wolves, I think Palace, Fulham, and I think it might have been West Ham or Forest that are after him also. So these teams are after our players, guys. It is very exciting for Arsenal to get some of this money in because it will mean that we can have more of an exciting window in terms of our incomings. Certainly with the Calafiori deal, it proves that we are not as minted as what some people want. We're going to have to sell and then we're going to have to buy after that. But that's probably the way it should be because Arsenal have got a lot of players on their books and we've got to try to balance it out somehow. So we'll stick with West Ham. John Duran is the guy that's linked with West Ham. He's a player, I must say, that I don't know that I really rate highly, but certainly other people do rate highly, if that does make sense. They're in talks with the 20-year-old Colombian. They're interested in taking the Aston Villa striker, John Duran. Sky Sports have reported. I don't know how much it'll be, but I know that Chelsea were linked with him for around about 50 million. Now, if there's 50 million pounds for John Duran, then maybe it isn't quite crazy to suggest that Eddie and Nketiah might be worth that much as well. Because as much as I'm not a fan of either of these players in terms of, wow, I think they're going to be sensational, I look at it and I think, do you know what? Let's be real. I don't really understand what is a good price anymore for a striker then. Because if you're touting £50 million for Eddie and Duran, wow, how are you going to get Ivan Toney for 50 million? You know, like, let's be real. If it's a choice of Ivan Toney, John Duran, or Eddie Nketiah, you're not going to pick Eddie Nketiah or John Duran, are you? You're going to go for Ivan Toney. So, yeah, weird market now. Weird market nowadays. Can't say it's something that I'm massively a fan of either, if I'm honest. I think people are just going crazy now. And I think personally we'd be lucky to get 25 for Eddie. 50, wow. 30 for Ramsdale, not 50. We're not going to get 30 for Nelson. It's going to be 15, 20 tops. Likewise, Smith Rowe, he's going to be 40 million tops. He's not going to be any more than that. So we just have to be realistic, I think, about it. But listen, if people are going to throw money at you, like Forest did with Elliot Anderson, of course they're going to say yes to it. Like, let's be real. It's going to happen, isn't it? Lastly, on Arsenal, we have taken this 15-year-old on trial, Coran Madden. Now, I know absolutely nothing about Coran Madden other than we've taken him on trial. The 15-year-old forward has already had trials with City and Manchester United and is considered one of the brightest prospects in Northern Ireland. He has earned the nickname Golden Child at the academy of his club Cliftonville, which is obviously in Northern Ireland, and he's expected to move to the Premier League in the near future. Arsenal are one of several top-flight clubs targeting him, and it's due to the Brexit changes around signing youngsters from abroad that we're not able to sign anyone until they are 18. And Cliftonville has said, best of luck to Coran Madden, who will spend this week on trial with Arsenal Football Club. So let's see what he does. Let's have a look at him. Arteta certainly will. It's not a player I've heard of. It's not someone that would excite me. I mean, he looks about 8 years old there. So let's see where we're at. I'm not one to start getting too excited about kids having trials at Arsenal. I'd rather see us go and get someone who's ready for now, not for the future. But of course, the future of Arsenal is very, very important as well. But we need to look now at where we are at. Ipswich Town making moves. I must say, I've got to say that they are a team I am most interested in watching. They've looked in now to sign Liam Delap over at Manchester City. That's a very good signing. I've reported yesterday they're looking at the two Hull City players. That's very exciting. And they've all got a kind of thing in common, really. Kieran McKenna. Kieran McKenna is looking at the young players for the future, and he's looking to get them signed. He did it last season. He got Dane Scarlett, he got Amari Hutchinson, he got Brandon Williams. He's looking now again at Liam Delap and some of the other youngsters that have lit up the under 18s division when they did. So I think Ipswich have got a really good plan in place. And I think if they back Kieran McKenna like it looks like they're going to, they could have a real exciting couple of years. They really could. Even if they were to get relegated, they've got a real good set of players there that they're trying to build. And I think it's an exciting project for Ipswich Town. And it's great to see that they're back in the Premier League after so long. I remember when they got themselves into Europe. I remember when they were playing into Milan. It seemed like 20 years ago. Was it now? Maybe longer than that. Maybe it was almost 25 years ago. But they were a club that I always looked at under George Brbie that I had a lot of time for. So obviously being an Essex boy, they were across the border in Suffolk and I always looked out for their results. And it would just be nice to see them do well. It really would. That's going to be it from me this morning. Big up to all of you for being here. Make sure you do me a favor and make sure you've hit the like button. In fact, there's nearly 300 of you watching here. Let's see how many likes we've got. We have not hit 100 people. Let's make sure we hit the like button and the subscribe button. It's absolutely free. Honestly, it's a free thing to do and it takes 2 seconds, guys. And it really does help. So please make sure that you do that. It's free content. It's every morning for you guys. It's going to start growing. People are going to start knowing about it. So we'll get more and more people watching. But the only way that we'll do that is by your help. So please, if you're part of this community, make sure you are liking every single video and subscribing to the channel if you're new, because of course we want to try and hit our target this season, which is 30k. And I hope that we can get there with your help. So please make sure that you do that. hit those two buttons. They're absolutely free to do. If you do want to hit the notification bell, that would be great because it tells you when we are on. I'm going to be back later, probably be with an afternoon show, and I'm going to be after the game tonight for England. My thoughts quickly on that before we close. I think England have got a chance of winning in 90 minutes for the first time in a long time tonight because I feel like we have to. I don't feel we can put in another performance like that. I think the opposition is finally starting to get a little bit harder. And I think that will definitely give us a kick up the backside and it will allow England to react and try to promote what they believe is an attack-minded style of play. Now, is that possible for Gareth Southgate? I still have my doubts. We're going to keep the same team. There's no rumours of any suggestion of change. Kieran Trippier is expected to keep his place at left wing-back. Saka likewise at right wing-back. Free at the back, I imagine he will probably come in for Konza, but other than that, I expect it to be the same. Doubts over Harry Kane, but let's be real, he's going to play. If he's fit of any form, he's going to play. And I don't know that he is at the moment the best player that we can play in that position, but would we throw in Watkins or Toney? I'm not so sure. Palmer, I'm not so sure, but they can certainly be used from the bench. We've got an unbelievable bench that I think Gareth Southgate needs to use a lot quicker. I don't think we need a reactive substitutions bench that we wait for someone to get injured and bring subs on. We need to start being proactive. I think that England, and he said Arsenal then, I think that England can win 2-1 in 90 minutes. And I feel like that will then get us to the final where, I must say, I think we've got the potential of having a bit of damage done to us by Spain if they continue playing the way they are and we continue playing the way that we are. So, yeah, let's see what happens for England tonight. I hope that we can do it, but we have to go and wait and see what Southgate is all about. Big up to everybody who's been here. Make sure you hit a like on your way out. We'll see you next time. Take it easy. And as always, up the Arsenal. Latest, people.